So welcome back again to another episode. Welcome back, Andrea. I think you have a lot of interesting news to share with us here today. And how are things in the land of compliance, data protection, and privacy these days?
Oh, hi, Thomas. It's a very big pleasure to be here again today to talk about something very special for us now. And that it's a challenging, also very challenging topic today we are talking because it requires lots of new thinking about the privacy and the business. No? So here in Brazil, we are look to Europe now and see these new decisions coming and try to think how to put it in place also here with our new law.
Yeah, interesting. We have actually two main topics that are in the news right now. One is the virus, and the other one is cookie. So exactly. I suggest we focus on the cookie side of the equation here. And I think there have been some movement. There was a new case in Europe. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sorry about I just understood.
It was a new court case, which was
yes, we have two new court cases. Yeah, exactly. That gave us new directions about how you need to manage cookies and consent in our websites and our platforms. So it's very nice, and it's come from Germany, and I'm sure that could come. A standard for future decisions, also for other courts. So it's very important for us to take care with it and pay attention and be aware about what they are telling to us to do now, because it's not a Germany case. It could be for all around Europe in some not long time.
Yeah, it's interesting, and maybe you can tell a little bit more from your experience, but what I see is a lot of companies are looking at this right now, not only in Germany. We have to do a lot with international clients, and they are looking at what's happening in Europe as a whole, what's happening in other parts. Brazil is looking at Europe because they just implemented something. And I think what is happening now is that the legislation, which was done on the regional or EU level, is now being interpreted by on a case-by-case basis, literally. One thing that I found interesting is a very practical topic, right? A lot of companies and organizations are still showing a very simple cookie banner on their pages, and basically that says, it pops up and it says, by the way, we're using cookies, and then you have to hit accept. This is not the new standard anymore, right?
If I no, really not. No, it's a big question. Cookie is, I think, delicious, no, yes. As to eat, but also as a topic to discuss, no, because we have so many things to do, and all this, what is running after a cookie, and just. Now people say, oh, I'm telling you, you are using cookies enough, and now Germany say, the Supreme Court of Germany said that no, it's not really that. Now you need to find more. People need to choose. It needs to be granular. It's the difficulty. Now you really need to say what kind of cookie you are permitting for your browser to allow. You need to allow with what kind of a cookie your browser will be using when you say, okay, I agree. And just for lots of company also, it's come with a mark, and now they said no mark,
You mean like pre-selection, no?
Pre-selection,
yeah,
exactly.
Not a good idea anymore.
No, no pre-selection anymore. And you need work with what I say, what I intend. You need to work with granular cookies, and the consumer needs to choose what they agree or not with that. Yeah.
Before we come about and talk a little bit more about the implications, I think there are basically two tracks to think about. One is the legal side, how you do the legal assessment, and the other one is the technical side, the technical audit. No, but basically, just to make it clear again, what that means for a given website. That means you cannot actually collect any information with a cookie before the visitor has not agreed or rejected if they give the consent, in other words, the permit to of their information to be collected. And that has an implication for many websites which are dependent on the cookies for advertisement, for personalization, for sometimes even running the website. No? So that has to be figured out. In the case of an e-commerce company, that means that if you cannot collect the information from customers, you cannot show, for example, retargeting advertisement to them. That's a very, very important thing to understand. And we have touched a little bit the topic about consent in optimization. But before you can optimize, you need to collect the consent in the first place, right? So,
and it's a very, very hard topic because we need to put it in practice technically. And sometimes some actions that you are used to do, we can do it anymore, no? So you need to pay attention for that.
Yeah. So I think what is the prescription, right, at this point in time? I think everybody needs to take a look at this, and there are at least two sides to the equation. Probably more. We'll probably discover more. But one side is a company should seek some legal advice and do a legal assessment where they have legal exposure. No? That's basically in your domain, I guess. No? So how would you work with a company like that? You probably have to do a full, complete assessment for that. No?
Yes, you need to, because now you need to review all your terms, no? And it's very important for adapting the legal part with your technical part. So you have two big jobs to put it in place. And first you have to decide how your cookie will be running. And after that, you need to adaptate all your policies and instructions and consents and everything that you use in your website, for example, or platform for that, no? And
Go ahead.
And this point is very important because first you need to decide how kind of granular cookies you are using and for what. This need to be in your policies, and it's why we need to first do the technical and after you need to do the terms.
This is, I think, really interesting because in the cases where I worked with companies, this is basically triggering an iterative process, no? Because then the next question is, okay, what do we have? No? I remember there was this US show, 2.5 Men, and basically two guys raising a boy, and he's coming home like teenager or pre-teenager, no? And the father asked him, what do you want for lunch? And he said, what do we got? And he said, what do we want for lunch? So it's a never-ending story, no? Now, my point here is, in order to kind of get into this iterative mode, the company also needs to conduct what I call a technical audit, basically running a crawler or script to figure out what are all the pixels, tactics, the tags that we have on the website, and do we have that in the privacy declaration? Do we have that implemented in our consent management system? No? That's what we are talking about here.
Exactly. And see what is very important as for your company to be running, because you need the consent of for example, if you are using statistic or using other kinds of cookies, you need to be clear about that with your consumer from now on, no? Right. So, but for this first step, you need to select what kind of cookie are very, very important to you. And then you need to, after that, put it in place and then write your policies and other kinds of consents. No?
That's an interesting topic. I think you mentioned a very important word, being granular, no? Because it requires that you can give choice. What that means actually is that I can go to a website, the banner comes up, and I can select, okay, I give my consent, for example, to LinkedIn tracking because I'm interested in that, but I'm not giving it to Twitter, but I may give it to Google, but not Microsoft advertisement or Pinterest, etc. It's on that granular level, no? And then the tool also has to provide some background information of who's controlling the information, what are they doing with it, how can you revoke the consent, etc., etc. No? It's not easy actually to do it. It's like really a problem. No?
It's the problem. You need it's a big improvement for the website in your company, and it's a big, for me, it's also a important decision for the company to choose the good ones that are in the granular part, and they are someone that you can call them as essential cookies. And it's very important for the cookie say to the consumer also, oh, look for that, because without this one, my solution or my website is not running very well. Because sometimes if you are so granular that you are saying, oh, I'm working with this and this company, and you don't want to be part of it, it's not a problem. You can't not use, but my service could be a little different for you. So this kind of dialogue now is very important for the companies and the consumer.
And that usually brings other people to the plate, right? So one would be the web designer, because they would say, hey, don't mess with the user experience. Now we want to make sure that people have a good experience. It's in line with our branding. It doesn't stop them from purchasing or exploring products, etc. And the other party would be the marketing folks. They probably say, hey, what are you doing with my analytics pixel? I need the information in order to design products and campaigns. No? So that's when I think this topic of change management now really becomes apparent. No? How to manage that kind of change and come forward with a solution which is not only holds the legal test, but also is practical in some way, no? And useful at the end of the day. Yeah.
I like a lot, because now I'm seeing people think differently to do the same, so it's change management. It's life now with data privacy and the data protection, because you can do as you have been doing all our data. Now you need to treat data differently now and find new solutions for the same problem. So, and be more transparent and be more the decision is not only for the product. Now the consumer is in the middle of that. So it's very nice to see what you are creating in this new cookie world now with these new decisions from Germany.
So that's interesting. I think we have more topics to cover in this part of the series moving forward. But maybe to recap for today, I think it's a good idea to take a first step at this point in time and get the inventory done and get the truth on the table. No? What are all the tools and tags and pixels that we have on the website? And then start in these 4 tracks, no? The legal assessment. I think that's important for any website provider, e-commerce provider, to also work with an authorized legal expert and in order to obtain an advice. Second, a technical review. Engage the marketing people, and of course the user experience designer, because you want to make sure that you can run your business in a good and favorable way moving forward.
Yeah, it's very important now to be up to do that now. Now it's a big change, technical and legal to do again, but it'll be easier then to understand also for some analysis or other uses that you need to know, because now you can see precisely what people are saying yes or no for the data utilization. So could be a nice way to measure other parts of the business that we are not looking for.
Yeah. I think a byproduct of this exercise for many companies will be to have such a change management in play now, no? Because sooner or later your marketing people come forward with a new tool. As an example, sometimes we're working with companies, they say, okay, this web page is not converting and why, no? And then we implement a heat map tool, for example. that needs to be built into the cookie settings, no? And the compliance, everything. I think it's one example how this is a living process, basically. It's not a one-time effort moving forward. No. Okay.
And okay, it's very nice, and see it very fast now. Even and you are a Germany company, you need to run because that's it's very important. Yeah. Well, it's a good way also for this market.
We also before we started this episode today, we talked a little bit about international implications, but I think that's a whole different topic, and we want to take our time to talk about that a little bit more in detail in an episode, or maybe even in a webinar setting, so that people can engage with that topic a little bit more.
It would be very nice, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Always exciting to hear the news from the data protection land, and I'm looking forward to our next episodes.
Oh, with pleasure. Very nice.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.